everyone, here's your favorite artist, and today we're going to do a draw with me. This is the spread that we're doing in this video, well, most of it. And this is technically not my first video. I do have more videos on this channel, but I will consider this my first video, as it's a little bit better, or I'll try to make it a little bit better than the other ones that I have up. So you're going to be here drawing with me, and I'm going to talk about different subjects. I think specifically I have two in mind. And then these drawings that you're going to see me do right now are sketches, graphite sketches, and my sketchbook studies. So I searched on Pinterest for random art and kind of took inspiration, and that's what I did. But that said, let me start by telling you about the two subjects that I want to talk about. So the first one is the line variation. So only this year I've started, well, I started drawing, so this is more of like story time of my drawing experience, but I started drawing when I was very little, and I always liked drawing, and I drew all the time. But I didn't really study it or did it in a professional way, or didn't go to classes, so I just winged it and did whatever I thought was good, until I realized that, a lot of things I could have learned a lot earlier and a lot better if I had watched more tutorials, but not tutorials in itself, but more about copying. But that's the second subject I wanted to talk about, so I'm not going to get into that. First, my art level was not that good because I didn't do all these things that help you improve art. I feel like when I watch art tips videos and stuff like that, nobody talked about this. Nobody talked about how important it is, like certain things about art that you might not be doing in your everyday that will help you improve tremendously. So line variation was one of those that I just learned this past year, and it's very late because I've been drawing for so long and I'm already 22 years old, and I'm only learning this right now. But line variation literally changes everything. The way that it looks so much more professional just by adding line variation. And what do I mean by line variation? Because maybe not everybody calls it line variation. What I mean, making the line art thicker in some parts, thinner in some parts, and the thicker parts are where two parts connect, or where the shadow is, and things like that. There has to be a little bit of thought behind it. You cannot just make thick lines wherever you want and thin lines wherever you want. There has to be almost like unity to it. Not unity, but like it being unified, not being completely random. Having a pattern in a way. And so I realized that. And then you can also make where the lines are thicker and they meet another line and they're in a shadow, you can make them a little darker, and that gives them like a darker color, and that gives them an even better effect. Obviously the drawings that you're seeing right now are on graphite, but when you're doing a colored piece, doing the line art in different colors is also something that makes your art look so much better in such a small step. But that is something that I already knew, and that is something that I had done before for longer. And when I learned about line variation, I was amazed. Even though it's such a small thing, because my art went from looking like somebody that just liked to draw and drew because she liked it, to someone who looks like their sketchbook is an artist's sketchbook. It looks like the sketchbook of an artist, and I don't know if it makes sense, but I hope it does. So these small little tweaks that you do to change your art and to make it better are huge. When you see art tip videos or stuff like that, people don't really talk about this, but I would like to make an art tip videos of art tips that I learned that are not necessarily the ones that you see all the time. Obviously color theory, but it's okay, but how do I really learn color theory? And that brings me to my next topic, which is copying. So I realized that the best way to learn all these things is to copy. Either copy reality or copy other people's art. and that's literally a way easier way to learn it. So if you want to learn color theory and you realize, oh, my shadows, okay, so I understand that a shadow isn't made by putting a darker color and just putting a darker color over a lighter base. I need to do it a bit more interesting and using different colors. Like once you realize that, then you're like, okay, but what color can I use for the shadow and what color will it make sense? And in that case, if you start really looking, but it is about observation as well. Like you really need to look and see, okay, this artist did this, and for the shadow they used a green or a blue or a purple, and do the same and copy it and see if it looks good. Then also from reality, but from reality can be a bit harder, because obviously one of the tips, I have seen videos about tips of like one thing to improve your art, you have to be able to observe reality and not see what your brain thinks it's seeing, but what you actually see. And one of those things is looking at reality and seeing that, oh, the shadow in this thing is not, or like the easiest example, white is not white, it's actually there is blue in it, and there is green, and there is gray, and all of these things that you, if you look closely, you will see, oh, the shadow is actually, it has a bit of green in it. The under eye of this girl is a little bit purple, there's a little bit of green in this place of the face, and that will help you see that you can use those colors to create shadows. It is a lot easier if you do it from other people's art instead of reality, because you see, oh, they used blue, and I want to make this study because I saw it, and it was a watercolor piece that the shadow was light blue, but it still looked like a shadow, and I was like, oh my goodness, how did she do that? So I'm going to study it and do it. But the thing is, that is so important, and I think a lot of artists and a lot of people that give advice don't say how important it is to copy it and to copy other people, because that's the way that you're gonna learn. And for a long time I didn't copy, I created everything from my mind, and I thought it was better because it was like original and I wasn't copying other people, when I wanted to be like righteous and not be copying and then like claiming it as my own and stuff like that. But it is so important to actually do that, because it's so much harder to do that and learn if you don't copy it. To get to that solution, you might spend 20 years that you would spend a month by copying another artist. So yeah, that's really important, and that's something I realized. Obviously, don't post it. I don't even feel like I need to say this because it's so obvious, but don't post it, don't claim it as your own, don't sell it, but do it all the time to practice. And then, because in the end, that's what really good artists do. Like, they've done that, and now they've created a piece that is their own, and it's very beautiful, and it has beautiful shadows, and it has beautiful color theory, and beautiful perspective, and beautiful this and that. And it's like an amalgamation of all of the things that they've taken from other artists. So don't feel bad about doing that. Just the ones that you post or the ones that you want to sell or whatever, they have to be original, which I feel like I don't even have to say because that's so obvious. So a lot of these drawings that you're seeing me do now on my sketchbook are not necessarily completely original, because I did take them from, as I've said at the beginning, from Pinterest. But I always change them a little bit. I always make them more my style or something like that, just so it's more mine, because as I've said, like I didn't do it for a long time because it just didn't feel right, and I still don't feel completely comfortable copying. So yeah, just make it your own. But it is very important, and it's very important to observe, which would be one of those tips that perhaps people don't talk that much about when it comes to art, and it's observe and see. And that really helps for drawing. So like when I'm drawing poses, I would draw it the way that I think it should be drawn, and then I see, oh, this knee is aligned with the elbow, but I didn't do it aligned with the elbow, and now if I wanted to do it aligned with the elbow, I have to make it 10 times longer, and that will mess up the anatomy. So yeah, I think you have to be good at observing and realizing what these artists are doing that is making their art look nice, and then apply it on your own, and that will make you improve a lot quicker than if you don't do this. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So to sum it up, copying and following tutorials and all that is the best way to learn art and to be better at it. and now I'm seeing a lot of like young artists that are so good and their sketchbooks look so nice. And part of it is because they grew up watching YouTube videos where they showed their sketchbooks and showed amazing sketchbooks, because obviously no one wants to post ugly sketchbooks because no one wants to watch those. And that pushed them to be better. That's why I do think it's positive that these videos and these expectations of what your sketchbooks should look like are there, because that helps you to push yourself more and do it better and learn, and in the end it is positive, even though it can also be negative, and you can also have to separate yourself a little bit from it so it doesn't affect you as much. So I think a lot of young artists have improved so much, and obviously being older and seeing them feels a bit like, oh, I'm not at their level and they're younger. But that's why comparison is always flawed, because if I had known what they had known, I would have improved just as much. And I've seen that because I've improved in such a very little time by doing these things that I wasn't really doing, like copying or practicing more of things that I'm not so comfortable with, or that I don't do naturally, like using references. I'm like, it's partly lazy, and then I just want to draw quickly and get it over with sometimes. So I don't take that many references, and I just draw from my head and my memory, and usually doesn't look as nice as if I were to use a reference. So get past that, and just using references has improved my art. And I don't know why there's this way of thinking that if you don't use reference it's better. That's kind of weird. Like, why wouldn't you be able to look at what you're trying to draw? I don't know. But obviously it's also really nice to be able to draw things from memory, yeah. But you need to draw them from life in order to be able to draw them from memory. So yeah, and I think that's pretty much it. I feel like I've said what I wanted to say in this video, and hopefully you've enjoyed seeing me draw. And yeah, this is my first video. I definitely want to do it more. The only issue I have with these videos are that I need to film them nicely, and my desk is not that big, so I can have a hard time setting up my desk so it looks nice for the video. And then also the voiceover, I can only do it when there's like quiet time and there's no sound around, and even now you probably heard a lot of like background sound. So yeah, but I will be doing it, I think, more often. So that is it. If you've enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, comment, and I'll see you next time. Bye! Good quality. Half good quality.